Corellia's attitude leading up to them launching a rebellion against the Galactic Alliance was picked from a vote from the patrons. And we're going to be sticking with the Corellian sector today as well, since it just so happens that the viewers on my gaming channel, Corey Loses, picked a famous Corellian, GARM BEL IBLIS, for our first character video. I don't have access to the community page on this channel just yet, so I can't run polls here until that happens, but until we do get access to that, I'll still be running polls on Patreon and on Corey Loses for different content, as well as taking comment suggestions here. So this video will also probably involve some new graphic attempts, since the last videos have involved a lot of maps. I had a hard time making a map of GARM BEL IBLIS. There's still some major points of Corellian lore which I explained in the last video that will come up here, so for those bits to make some more sense, if you haven't seen it yet, I recommend going and checking out that video, which I'll link to in the comments. GARM BEL IBLIS' exact age is never covered anywhere, but his early life is known to have had some involvement in the military as a member of the Corellian Security Forces, or CORSEC, which served the planet's militia in a period where the Republic had no real organized military beyond judicial forces and planetary militias. After this, in the year 35 BBY, or years before the Battle of Yavin, he was elected to the position of Senator for Corellia in the Galactic Republic's Senate. He gained a reputation as a patriotic Corellian, a skilled orator, and a proponent of freedom throughout the galaxy. During his early time in the Senate, he also married another Corellian named Ariania, a marriage which his political activism would strain in its later years. His popularity in the Senate was not universal, however. He was a vocal critic of Senator and later Chancellor Palpatine, and warned against Palpatine's use of the 24 BBY Emergency Powers Act to accumulate more power to himself. BEL IBLIS' opposition to dictatorial power, or strong centralized power in general, would be a defining feature of his political ideals throughout his life, and can be seen as symbolic as a more positive side to the broader Corellian political culture, which the Essential Guide to Warfare calls a history of cranky independence. This can be contrasted with the nativism of Threk and Sal-Solo, about whom we spoke significantly in the last Corellian video, and who probably deserves a video of his own at some point, and probably another prison sentence too. BEL IBLIS became convinced in this period leading up to the Clone Wars that Palpatine would not give up his power, and this factored into the Corellian opposition to the Military Creation Act, which would give the Republic its own military for the first time in 1,000 years, since an event known as the Yuuzhan Reformation. Aside from his own misgivings about Palpatine's motivations, he argued the case for planetary militias like CORSEC from a more pragmatic standpoint, which can be seen with this quote from the HoloNet News report. "Where is this army going to come from? Who will get stuck with the bill for its creation? The Republic taxpayer. We should stay with the planetary security forces that have worked for centuries. The Corellian people are not going to pay for both CORSEC and this Republic army." When BEL IBLIS and his allies failed to block the bill, and when the Clone Wars began, BEL IBLIS and the Corellian Diktat, which is basically their president, Sheila Maricope, invoked the Corellian constitutional power of Contemplatus Hermi, or meditative solitude, which allowed them to withdraw from their Senate duties and responsibilities, hoping to keep Corellia out of the war, an act which was ultimately unsuccessful, and the fighting very quickly spilled over into Corellian borders. Although he was withdrawn from the Senate for its duration, BEL IBLIS would often meet with other senators who shared his misgivings about Palpatine, including other future rebel leaders like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma. He was also part of the delegation of 2000, a group of senators who brought forward a petition to Palpatine demanding for him to step down from power after the resolution of the Clone Wars. With Palpatine's refusal in the Declaration of the Galactic Empire, BEL IBLIS was forced to resume his duties as a senator, and along with Bail, Mon Mothma, and others, he began to oppose Palpatine both privately and publicly. Unlike with many of his other allies, BEL IBLIS' popularity and the Corellian attitude of cranky independence we discussed earlier did afford him some protection from reprisals from the Imperials. His private life did suffer from his opposition, even in times when his career wasn't necessarily held back by it. His wife Ariania remained a staunch Imperial loyalist, and his outspoken opposition to Palpatine's methods would put a strain on their relationship. In the earlier years of the Empire, BEL IBLIS' public opposition was built on his actions in private, setting up and leading a series of Corellian resistance cells. This was common throughout the galaxy, with many of his Senate allies like Mon Mothma of Chandrila taking similar actions on their home planets and sectors. BEL IBLIS recognized that none of these groups would individually be able to achieve the ultimate goal of removing Palpatine from power, and BEL IBLIS, Mon Mothma, and Bail Organa unified their efforts and became the joint leaders of the new alliance to restore the Republic, with the signing of the Corellian Treaty in 2 BBY. Before the destruction of Alderaan, the three leaders were able to keep each other in check. Bel Iblis was more military-minded than either Bail or Mon Mothma, and Bail in particular was able to mediate conflicts between Bel Iblis and Mon Mothma. In this same period, his personal life had also taken another major blow. Earlier in the same year as the destruction of Alderaan, Bel Iblis had been planning a public speech denouncing Palpatine and essentially airing all of Palpatine's crimes at the Treason political center. While he was preparing, his office had a bomb placed in it by operatives under the command of Hassan Isard, which killed Bel Iblis' wife and children, and left the galaxy at large believing Bel Iblis to be dead. With the destruction of Alderaan, the rebellion also lost one of its three founders, Bail Organa, throwing the leadership of the rebellion into disarray. The balance of power and personality conflicts between the two remaining founders, Bel Iblis and Mon Mothma, was no longer able to be maintained, and the relationship quickly deteriorated. Bel Iblis had become convinced that the powers Mon Mothma had as Alliance Chief of State, granted under the Corellian Treaty until the removal of Palpatine, would again not be surrendered by her, similar to how Palpatine had not surrendered his own powers after the Clone Wars, and he believed that his ally was simply setting herself up to replace Palpatine as a new galactic empress. The final straw in severing their ties came when Mon Mothma attempted to order a military raid on a planet called Melvain. Bel Iblis and other advisors opposed the action, saying that their intelligence indicated it was not as lightly defended as Mon Mothma believed, that instead Melvain was a strongly fortified Imperial Ubictorate base, the Ubictorate being the highest level of Imperial intelligence. Bel Iblis refused to allow Corellian forces to participate, saying, "I will not send my troops on a suicide attack, and I do not recognize your authority to order them to. I did not vote to put you in charge of the Alliance, and if Bail did, then he was gravely mistaken." Mon Mothma then summarily dismissed him from service to the Alliance. With his ties to the Rebel Alliance now severed, Bel Iblis began to lead his own Corellian resistance again. Even after the Battle of Endor and the fall of Palpatine, Bel Iblis retained control of his own forces, nicknamed Peregrine's Nest after his flagship Peregrine, an old Katana fleet dreadnought, one of 6 he had acquired for his operations. He spent the 4 years between Endor and the Thrawn campaign, which started in the year 9 after the Battle of Yavin, believing that he would have to once again take up the mantle of a galactic resistance movement to depose Mon Mothma. His forces were also sometimes funded by Borsk Phalia, a Bothan rival of Mon Mothma who knew of the tension between the two. Ultimately, Bel Iblis had begun to accept that he had been incorrect about Mon Mothma wanting to install herself as a dictator, and with some additional convincing from fellow Corellian Han Solo, Lando Calrissian, and a formal request for help from Leia on behalf of the New Republic at the Battle of the Katana Fleet, Bel Iblis joined the New Republic forces. Some members of the New Republic, including Admiral Akbar, were insistent that GARM BEL IBLIS be offered a seat on the governing Provisional Council. However, Mon Mothma felt the need was greatest at that time for military leaders, and as such, Bel Iblis was granted the rank of general, but not the rank of master. Bel Iblis would continue to serve with distinction in the New Republic military and high levels of government. He was a member of the New Republic High Command as the lead architect of Coruscant's defense, and continued to be a leading figure in the war against the Empire until the signing of the Pelion-Gavrisum Treaty, which officially marked the end of hostilities between the New Republic under Chief of State Ponk Gavrisum and the remains of the Empire being led by Gilad Pellaeon. Bel Iblis was highly positioned and respected enough, even among the Empire, that the first attempt that Pellaeon made at requesting peace talks had been sent to Bel Iblis himself, although these message attempts were sabotaged by other Imperial actors. Bel Iblis was also the New Republic's commanding officer at the Battle of Yaga Minor, which was the last major conflict between the New Republic and the Empire, and secured peace between the two. Sometime after the war concluded, Bel Iblis retired, now having been around 55 to 60 years since his election as a senator before the Clone Wars. When the extragalactic invaders known as the Yuuzhan Vong invaded, Bel Iblis rejoined the military as an advisor, specifically working with Bothan Admiral Trace Greffey. When the Vong attacked Coruscant, Bel Iblis controversially ordered New Republic forces to fire on refugee ships that the Vong were using as cover. After the massive losses at this battle, Bel Iblis once again broke off from the New Republic's forces and began his own war against the Yuuzhan Vong, leading 3 fleets from Talon and Fondor, which were incidentally also worlds that would join Corellia in its galactic rebellion later on. Bel Iblis once again was convinced to rejoin the New Republic at the Battle of Ebac 9, which would mark a turning point in the war. Bel Iblis remained active in service for the rest of the war and was finally able to presumably re-enter retirement at the war's end in 29 ABY. 10 years after the conclusion of the Vong War, Karelia began its own bid for independence, and while Bel Iblis was long retired presumably by this point, they cited many of the same issues that Bel Iblis had under the original Republic and even the New Republic. So while we may never find out what his opinion would actually have been, it does seem likely that would he have been at least sympathetic to the Corellians' confederation. That will do it for this week's video, though. I hope you've all enjoyed this first character piece. Again, it's going to take a bit before I can figure out the best way to format some of this stuff, or even just get used to basic things like how I'm supposed to pace the videos, how to present everything, so I appreciate your patience while I get the hang of everything. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please do leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.